Candace Owens did not whisper. She did not hint. She walked straight into the storm and dropped something so wild, so personal, and so emotionally loaded that the internet forgot how to breathe. Cameras rolled. Lights burned hot. And with a steady voice she delivered what many are now calling the most chaotic DNA revelation ever tossed into public view. Fans are shocked. Critics are scrambling. And somewhere behind the scenes, Charlie's world feels like it just cracked in half. It started with that sentence. Now you know why Charlie never trusted anyone. No laughter. No playful tone. Just a heavy truth hanging in the air like thunder that refuses to break. Everyone leaned closer. Comment sections exploded. You could almost feel millions of people inching toward their screens while Candace looked straight ahead, unapologetic, almost challenging the world to blink first. According to the dramatic version flying around online, this was not just some random DNA curiosity or casual genealogy curiosity. This was personal. There were whispers of family secrets, talk of hidden betrayals, rumors of relationships that were never as honest as they appeared. And the most painful part, people close to Charlie never even suspected it. The family was left divided within minutes of the clip spreading. Some defending, some denying, some simply sitting in stunned silence. What are you saying? A shocked voice supposedly asked off-camera in that tense moment. Candace did not back down. I am saying everything people refused to say for years, she replied, calm while the room shook with tension. Emotions ran high. That sentence alone was enough to send shockwaves through friend circles, group chats, and every corner of social media. Suddenly, everyone had a theory. Everyone had a guess. Everyone wanted to know who was lying, who was hiding, and who had been living in fear of this truth being exposed. And then came the deeper punch. This DNA bombshell did not just question identity, it challenged loyalty. It hinted at history. It painted a picture of someone carrying a quiet burden for years while smiling in public and breaking in private. Fans started revisiting old interviews, old clips, old social media posts, searching for signs that Charlie had been silently wrestling with something enormous. Every pause suddenly felt meaningful. Every guarded smile now looked tragic. People close to the situation claim the room turned cold after that revelation. No one moved. No one breathed. A single truth had opened wounds that had never fully healed. The tension, the disbelief, the quiet anger. All of it mixed like lightning inside a storm cloud ready to burst. And this is only the beginning. If that single statement could send the internet into chaos, imagine what the full story holds. Stay with this, because what follows next is where the betrayals deepen, emotions break wide open, and the truth takes everyone to places they never expected to go. I promised you the truth, and here it comes like a storm crashing through a quiet room because the moment Candace Owens let those words leave her mouth, everything around Charlie's life began to shake and nothing felt stable anymore, and fans are shocked because what started as a bold statement suddenly turned into a flood of whispers, arguments, and emotional breakdowns behind the scenes. While cameras tried to catch every second of tension building in the air, and people close to Charlie kept saying they always knew. He carried something heavy in his chest, but no one expected this kind of revelation, something so raw that it stripped away every confident smile he had ever shown in public and turned it into a mask, hiding years of confusion, doubt, and quiet hurt. And when Candace looked into the lens and said, "This DNA truth explains everything," it did not sound like gossip, it sounded like a wound being ripped open in front of the world while Charlie stood there stunned, trying to breathe around the weight of being exposed in the worst possible way. And the family was left divided immediately, half of them furious, shouting that Candace had crossed a line that should have remained untouched, and the other half shaking their heads saying no, this needed to come out, this was the only way that lies would finally stop. And emotions ran high as voices rose and eyes filled with tears, and you could almost feel the room getting smaller, tighter, hotter as the truth demanded to be heard. And Charlie whispered through clenched teeth, "Why now? Why like this? Why in front of everyone?" And Candace replied with the cold kind of calm that only comes from believing you are absolutely right. Because hiding it has already destroyed enough lives. And that line hit harder than any punch ever could, and suddenly memories mattered in a new painful way. Every awkward family photo, every forced celebration, every silent dinner where nobody knew why Charlie looked distant now made a different kind of sense. And those close to Charlie began to talk about late-night phone calls, about him pacing back and forth, saying he felt like he never belonged, like something about his life did not fit like everyone around. Him knew a secret about him, except him, and those confessions now burned with new meaning because the DNA bombshell did not just question where he came from, it questioned who he really was and who he could ever trust again. And friends tried to comfort him, but how do you comfort someone who just learned that the foundation of their whole life may have been built on a carefully crafted lie? And while fans are shocked and social media explodes with wild theories, the inner circle is spiraling because accusations are flying and people are pointing fingers, saying someone hid the truth, someone lied for years, someone pretended everything was normal while watching Charlie struggle in silence. And that betrayal is heavier than any test result could ever be, because it means love came with secrets, loyalty came with conditions, and trust was never real in the first place. And Charlie's voice cracked when he asked the question nobody wanted to answer: who knew, who kept this from me? And silence filled the room like a punishment, everyone avoiding eye contact, everyone breathing carefully, like one wrong word could completely destroy whatever fragile connection the family still had. And Candace did not look away. She kept her stare locked forward like someone determined to drag every hidden truth into the light, no matter how much it burned. And she said slowly, "The truth has been sitting in this family for years, waiting to explode." And that sentence alone broke whatever emotional balance was left. People argued, people cried, someone slammed a door, someone begged everyone to calm down, but it was too late, because once a secret like this escapes, it does not go back. Quietly, it claws through every memory, every relationship, every promise ever made. And fans are shocked watching rumors transform into emotional reality while Charlie stands in the middle of it all, feeling betrayed, confused, angry, and heartbreakingly lost. And while the cameras keep rolling and everyone waits to see whose story is real and whose lie is about to collapse, the tension keeps rising and the truth keeps growing darker, because this DNA revelation is not finished. It has layers. It has names, it has consequences, and the next twist waiting behind this moment is about to push the drama into a place nobody is ready for. And now everything hangs in the air like a storm cloud about to burst, and no one knows who will break first or what secret will fall next. The room did not calm down, it only grew heavier as every second passed, and the tension wrapped around everyone like a tightrope, while Charlie stood there trying to hold himself together. And yet you could see the fight slipping from his eyes, because when trust breaks like this, it does not shatter quietly, it screams, and it drags every buried emotion with it. And while fans are shocked watching clips spread like wildfire across every platform, the people inside the story are living a nightmare that feels both unreal and painfully true. And voices kept overlapping, people talking over each other, defending themselves, accusing each other. And somewhere in the chaos, someone finally murmured what everyone was afraid to say: this DNA result changes the meaning of everything we thought we knew. And Charlie's breathing turned shaky, because even hearing it aloud hurt like a wound being pressed again and again. And Candace stayed standing, strong emotions controlled, but her words sharp as she explained that this was never about humiliation, it was about honesty. She said they had all watched Charlie suffer, watched him question his place, watched him fight silent insecurities, and still nobody stepped forward with the truth. And the family was left divided right down the middle, because some claimed they were protecting him, while others said protection is not lying, protection is not hiding someone's real story. And emotions ran high as once calm voices now turned angry and raw, and you could feel that years of secrets were beginning to spill. As if this DNA reveal unlocked more than just identity, it unlocked resentment, frustration, jealousy, and long-buried conflicts that were suddenly free to tear the room apart. And Charlie's hands trembled as he ran them through his hair, whispering that everything felt like a joke now. Every memory, every childhood moment, every time he trusted someone felt like a performance directed by people who never gave him the truth. And a relative tried to reassure him, saying none of that love was fake. But how do you convince someone of sincerity when deception sits right at the center of his life? And fans are shocked because they are seeing it side of Charlie they never imagined to see: the strong, confident figure reduced to someone questioning his own name, his own blood, his own place in this family he once thought was unbreakable. And Candace's voice softened for the first time, showing that even she was not untouched by the emotional weight of what she had exposed. And she said, "You deserved to know, you deserved the truth, even if it hurts, because living a lie is worse than facing pain." And that line echoed inside the room, creating silence, not peaceful silence, but heavy silence, filled with unspoken guilt from those who kept quiet for years. And there were whispered confessions beginning to surface, people admitting they suspected things, people saying they saw signs, but were too afraid to confront reality. And those words stung Charlie more than anything, because it meant so many people chose comfort over honesty. They chose calm over truth. They chose to protect themselves instead of protecting his right to know who he is, and suddenly, the DNA bombshell no longer felt like a single revelation. It felt like a betrayal woven through years and years of life, and his voice broke as he asked, "So what am I supposed to do now? What does my life even mean?" When the story I believed was never real, and nobody had an answer, because there are some questions that do not invite solutions, they invite pain and reality, and Candace took a slow breath before revealing that the DNA truth did more than question identity. It connected Charlie to someone unexpected, someone whose existence had been quietly ignored, someone whose name carried its own trouble and history, and the mention of that possibility hit the room like thunder, and emotions ran high again, arguments exploding once more, because acknowledging that part of the truth meant accepting a whole new level of consequences, and some begged her to stop, to leave it there, to let the damage sit without making it worse. But Candace did not come this far to retreat. She believed silence had already done enough destruction, and fans are shocked watching her strength, watching her determination, while also feeling the heartbreak of Charlie, who now seemed like a man standing on broken glass. Every step forward, cutting deeper and deeper, and phones kept buzzing with messages, people outside already reacting, rumors spreading faster than the truth itself, and Charlie closed his eyes, wishing the world would just pause so he could breathe, so he could understand who he is without the noise, without the chaos, without the pressure of millions watching and judging, and turning his deepest personal crisis into entertainment. And yet, this is where reality and spectacle collide, because this DNA secret was never going to stay quiet. Once released, it was always going to explode into something bigger, something loud, something unstoppable, and the family was left divided, not only over what the truth was, but over what should happen next. Some wanted to retreat away from the spotlight to heal privately, while others insisted everything should now be revealed, because hiding half the truth would only repeat the same mistakes that started this entire storm. And the fear in their voices showed something deeper than anger. They were terrified of what else might be uncovered, terrified of what new emotional earthquake could come next. And Candace locked eyes with Charlie and said in a steady voice filled with something close to sorrow, "This is only the beginning of the story that should have been yours from the start." And the weight of those words settled into everyone, because if this was only the beginning, then the next chapter was about to tear open parts of the past that nobody wanted to revisit, and fans are shocked watching this emotional destruction unfold, while also unable to look away as the stakes grow higher, the tensions sharper, and the truth darker with every moment. And Charlie took a slow, unsteady breath, trying to prepare himself for whatever twist awaited him next, because everything he believed has already broken, and now he is standing on the edge of another cliff, waiting for the next revelation to push him forward into a truth he never asked for but cannot escape. The silence finally broke like thin glass cracking under too much pressure, and when it shattered, it did not do it quietly. It exploded into arguments, accusations, and pure emotional chaos, because this moment was no longer just about a DNA result. It was about years of silence, years of pretending, years of smiling through something nobody wanted to explain. And fans are shocked as every new detail makes the situation feel heavier, darker, more impossible to escape. And Charlie stood there frozen between anger and heartbreak, between wanting answers and wanting to run away from all of it at the same time, while voices around him kept growing louder and more desperate as everyone scrambled to protect themselves from blame. And yet every excuse sounded hollow, every justification sounded selfish, and Candace did not soften this time. She looked tired but firm, as if she knew this flame had to burn or the truth would never breathe properly. And she finally said what everyone had been holding back, that the DNA revelation did not just expose a secret, it revealed a complete rewrite of Charlie's life story, and that meant someone in this family had to admit the truth completely and stop hiding behind partial honesty and emotional walls. And immediately tension exploded. Someone snapped back, saying Candace had no right to push this far, that this was a private matter that should never have been dragged into public light. And emotions ran high as anger twisted into raw pain, because that argument sounded like fear of exposure, fear of losing control, fear of facing what had been hidden for so long. And Charlie's voice finally broke through the shouting, shaky but powerful, as he demanded the one thing he deserved: "I want the truth, all of it, no more pieces, no more lies, no more protecting feelings at the cost of my life. Tell me everything." And those words cut the room open, because there was no escaping anymore, no reverse button, no safe retreat, and the family was left divided, not just in opinion but in loyalty. Some stepping closer to him, trying to comfort him, others shrinking back as if the truth was fire about to burn them alive. And Candace whispered, gently that the DNA test connected Charlie to someone outside this family entirely, someone whose name had been carefully erased from conversations and never allowed to exist publicly, and fans are shocked because this twist changes everything. It shifts the story into something even deeper than betrayal. It becomes about identity, stolen decisions made long ago that shaped every moment of Charlie's life without him even knowing, and slowly the truth started crawling out through shaking voices and wet eyes. Someone in the room finally admitted they knew, they always knew, and they chose silence because they were afraid of losing Charlie, afraid of losing the picture perfect family image, afraid of scars becoming visible to everyone. And Charlie's heart cracked at that confession, because love that hides the truth suddenly does not feel like love at all. It feels like control, it feels like selfishness, dressed as protection, and he whispered that he would have rather cried years ago than bleed like this today, in front of the world, and Candace watched every tear, every tremor, every emotional collapse happening in real time. Knowing this was painful, but also knowing this was necessary because Charlie deserved his story. And she said that with a strength that filled the room. Even those who hated her at that moment could not deny the reason behind her actions, and fans are shocked as they watch reactions spread like wildfire online, people choosing sides, arguing, screaming, crying, posting emotional breakdown videos, because the internet has turned this deeply personal tragedy into the loudest conversation of the moment. And yet inside the room everything feels personal, everything feels human, raw, shaking, and painfully real. And a voice from the corner finally revealed the hardest part, the truth about the person connected to Charlie through DNA, this mysterious figure who carried answers but also carried a storm of their own, a person who was never meant to disappear but was erased by decisions made without Charlie's consent, and the thought of a whole other life out there, a connection that was his by blood and stolen by secrecy, hit him like lightning, and he staggered back like the ground moved beneath him, whispering that his entire existence now felt borrowed instead of real, and emotions ran high as someone tried to hold him, and he pushed away. Not in rage but in heartbreak, because he did not know who deserved closeness anymore. He did not know who deserved his trust, and he certainly did not know who deserved forgiveness. And Candace's voice gently cut through again, telling him that this story was his now, not theirs to manage, not theirs to hide, not theirs to twist and control. This truth belonged to him because it was his blood, his history, his life, and that truth echoed everywhere like thunder, and fans are shocked, imagining themselves in his place, imagining their world ripped open while millions watch and judge and misunderstand and react. And yet Charlie did not cry loudly, he broke quietly, which somehow hurt more, his breathing unsteady, his hands trembling, his eyes lost, searching for something solid to hold on to, in a room that suddenly felt full of strangers. And one last confession hovered in the air, the kind of confession that would decide everything moving forward, and everyone knew once it came out there would be no going back, no pretending, no hiding. And that fear weighed heavier than anything so far, because the truth waiting still was not finished. It had another twist, another wound, another painful layer, ready to tear through whatever emotional strength they had left. And as the room held its breath, as social media roared, as the world leaned closer, the story was far from done, the fire was still burning, and the next revelation waiting to fall had the power to change Charlie's life, even more than the DNA bombshell already had. And this drama was only climbing higher, louder, and more heartbreaking as the next part of this storm prepared to strike. The air felt strange, like it did not belong to the room anymore, and everyone inside could feel it pressing against their skin, as if the truth itself had weight, and it was settling on their shoulders until nobody could stand comfortably. And fans are shocked because every second brings a new wave of tension, a new reminder that this story is far from finished. And Charlie stood there staring at the people he once called his entire world, trying to recognize them through the pain and confusion twisting inside his chest, and his voice sounded tired, softer than before when he finally spoke and said he wanted names, details, real answers, not broken pieces that left him drowning and trembling in uncertainty. And Candace took a careful breath, knowing what came next would shake the last bit of calm left, and she revealed slowly that the DNA truth did not just link Charlie to someone unknown, it linked him to someone powerful, someone with influence, someone whose life walked in a completely different direction than his, someone who could have changed everything if only the truth had not been buried. And emotions ran high again as whispers filled the room like a storm wind before thunder, and some people instantly panicked, saying this was dangerous, saying this connection would drag even more attention, even more questions, even more chaos, while others argued that danger had already arrived the moment the truth was hidden. And Charlie felt his heart pounding so loudly it was all he could hear as the idea formed in his mind that somewhere out there, someone shared his blood, someone who had never reached for him, someone who maybe did not even know he existed, or worse, someone who knew and chose silence, and that thought alone tore something inside him, because for the first time it was not just about betrayal from the people in front of him, it was about abandonment written into his very identity, and the family was left divided once again, shattered into different emotional corners, some crying, some frozen, some angry because this revelation no longer belonged only to their private life. The world was already circling hungrily, demanding explanations, and Charlie stood trapped between the life he had lived and the life he had never been allowed to know, and Candace's voice trembled slightly when she said that the truth was already spreading outside, and once the world knew a figure this significant was tied to Charlie through DNA, there would be no silence, no privacy, no peace, and yet she insisted honesty was still better than living in a carefully crafted lie, because at least now Charlie could choose his own truth instead of inheriting a fake one forced on him without permission, and fans are shocked watching this conversation unfold through every leaked moment and every dramatic retelling. And they cannot believe how emotional and intense it has become, and Charlie finally asked the question sitting like fire inside his chest. Did any of you ever think about what this would do to me, what it would feel like to wake up one day and realize my entire life was written by people who never trusted me with the truth? And his voice broke on the last word, and that hurt more than anything, because anger can burn out, but heartbreak clings, and you could see it all over him. A lifetime of confusion, finally given shape, but delivered in the harshest possible way, and someone from the family stepped forward, tears filling their eyes, saying they were scared, saying they believed they were protecting him, saying they thought silence would keep everyone safe, and Charlie looked at them with disbelief. Because safety built on lies does not feel like safety at all, it feels like being trapped inside a story someone else wrote and calling it love. And emotions ran high as voices shook and apologies poured out. Messy guilt-filled confessions of fear, of shame, of pressure, of expectations, and every apology came too late because the damage was already done, the years were already lost, and the identity crisis already swallowed him whole, and Candace stayed standing near him like a fixed point in a collapsing world, reminding everyone that Charlie deserved clarity, deserved ownership of his life, deserved truth, no matter how sharp it cut. And in that moment, more truth began spilling out, pieces of the past, told in fragments, memories of hushed arguments behind closed doors, of paperwork carefully hidden, of names spoken only in anger, and regret, of nights spent hoping the secret would never surface. And now here it was, standing in the center of the room, refusing to leave, and the idea of meeting this unknown figure, this person connected to him through blood, hung in the air like thunder waiting to crash. And Charlie whispered, almost to himself, that he did not know whether he wanted to meet them, or scream at them, or walk away forever, and the confusion twisted around his heart like something alive, because wanting answers and fearing them at the same time is its own torture. And fans are shocked, imagining that moment, imagining standing in his place, knowing that your existence is tied to someone who never stood beside you, and yet shapes the deepest part of who you are. And the more the family revealed, the clearer it became that this secret was never a simple mistake. It was a decision, a chain of decisions built on fear, image, power, and the desperate desire to control fate. And Candace's eyes glistened, though she refused to break, because she knew the weight of what she carried. She knew bringing this truth forward meant destroying illusions people depended on, but she also believed that Charlie's right to reality meant more than anyone's comfort, and her voice softened as she told him he had every right to feel anger, every right to feel betrayed, every right to reject everyone in this room if that was what he needed, because for the first time, the choice finally belonged to him. And the family was left divided, not only in guilt but in fear of losing him completely, fear that once he stepped away he might never come back, fear that their lies might finally cost them the person they claimed they wanted to protect. And Charlie's shoulders slumped under the emotional weight, as if the past itself was pressing against him, and he whispered that he did not even know how to grieve. Because how do you mourn a life that never truly existed? How do you process a family that loved you while hiding the most important truth from you? And the room fell silent again, not empty silence but thick, suffocating silence filled with everything unsaid, everything broken, everything irreversible, and even the strongest ones in the room looked small, fragile, undone. And fans are shocked watching as this story goes beyond drama and becomes something painfully human, because you can feel his heartbreak, you can feel his anger, You can feel the confusion tearing him apart, and yet somewhere deep inside all of this there was still another layer of truth waiting, because Candace hinted that the DNA connection came with history, with stories, with consequences far bigger than this room, and the tension rose again. Because everyone knew one more revelation could send this already shattered family into complete collapse, and Charlie closed his eyes for a moment as if he was gathering strength from somewhere deep inside, because whatever came next would either break him further, or give him the one thing he desperately needed, a sense of who he truly is. And as the world watched, as fans waited, as every heart in that room pounded with fear, the story pushed forward, because a truth this powerful does not stop halfway. It keeps going, dragging every hidden piece of the past into the light, whether anyone is ready or not. Next words felt like they could change the shape of the room, and everyone knew it, because nobody moved, nobody breathed too loudly, and every stare locked onto Candace as if she held the last fragile thread holding the family together. And fans are shocked watching, because the tension has climbed to a place where even a whisper feels dangerous, and Charlie's eyes were red but steady now, not because the pain faded, but because he had crossed some invisible point where emotions stopped exploding, and instead settled like a cold, sharp blade inside his chest. And Candace finally revealed what everyone had been circling around, that the powerful figure tied to Charlie through DNA was not a stranger living quietly in the shadows. This person was public, well-known, constantly in the spotlight, shaping opinions and decisions with a confidence that came from power and status. And the realization hit like lightning, because this meant Charlie's life was never ordinary, and it was never meant to be, and emotions ran high as disbelief collided with anger and fear, and someone in the room immediately begged Candace to stop, saying this would destroy everyone. Damage was already done, and nothing could hurt more than living without knowing who he truly is. And that sentence shook even those who still wanted silence, because it forced them to confront what they had done to him, and tears returned to faces already worn from crying, and guilt sat heavy in the air like smoke nobody could clear, and the family was left divided again. Some trying to shield themselves by insisting the truth was complicated, others finally admitting in broken voices that complicated does not excuse cruelty. And Candace explained that this powerful figure had been part of whispered conversations years ago, mentioned with fear, argued about behind closed doors, and ultimately erased because the truth did not fit the picture the family wanted to present to the world. And Charlie listened, like a man standing outside his own life, hearing the story of someone he barely recognized, and yet somehow realizing it was his. And he whispered that he wanted to know if this person knew about him, if they had any idea that he existed, if they ever wondered or cared or searched. And you could hear how much he wanted just a sliver of belonging, even while drowning in betrayal. And someone finally answered with trembling honesty, saying they believed yes, at some point this person did know. At least partly, but the situation was controlled, managed, locked away, and the world was never allowed to connect the pieces. And that revelation broke something new inside Charlie, because it meant he was not just hidden by the family standing in front of him. He was also ignored by blood that should have fought for him, and fans are shocked imagining that cold realization echoing in his heart, and emotions ran high as he laughed without joy, a hollow, broken sound, asking why everyone works so hard to protect their image, but no one works that hard to protect a child's truth, a person's identity, a human heart. And no one had an answer, because there are some questions that accuse simply by existing. And Candace spoke softly, telling him that even though this truth came wrapped in pain, it also came with power, because knowing where you come from means reclaiming your story, no matter how late, no matter how hard. And Charlie nodded slowly, tears finally sliding again, not wild this time, but quiet, like grief that had settled deep inside him. And he whispered that he wanted to meet this person, this powerful figure, this missing part of his life, not for fame, not for attention, but for closure, for answers, for a chance to ask face to face, "Why did you let this happen to me?" And the thought of that meeting alone sent shockwaves through the room, because nobody could predict what it would bring, healing or more destruction. And the family panicked again, voices shaking, saying it would cause public explosions, scandals, headlines exposing their lives in ways they would never recover from. And Charlie shook his head, tired of their fear, tired of their obsession with what the world thinks. And he said this was not about them anymore, it was about him and the life they manipulated without permission. And fans are shocked, watching him stand tall in his pain, beginning to reclaim strength from the ashes of everything he lost. And Candace supported him, telling everyone that the worst has already happened, the lie has collapsed, the world already smells drama, and their is no going back to perfect illusions, so the only path forward is through the truth itself. And slowly reality sank in for everyone. They had reached a point where silence no longer protected anyone, it only prolonged suffering. And tension eased only slightly, replaced by the heavy acceptance that the next steps would shape everything forever. And the internet meanwhile exploded with speculation. People arguing about who the powerful figure could be, people claiming to have inside information, people reacting with disbelief, sympathy, outrage, and curiosity. And Charlie's name thundered across every platform, dragging his pain into countless conversations while he was still struggling to understand it himself. And that made the emotional weight even greater, because not only was he fighting inside his heart, he was being judged and dissected worldwide. And Candace rested a gentle hand near him, without forcing closeness, and said they would face whatever came next together, that he was not alone. Even if it felt like his entire world betrayed him, that sometimes the people who expose pain are the same people who stand beside you when it burns. And that unexpected loyalty softened something in his face. Because for once, someone was not trying to silence him, they were helping him find his voice. And family members stepped forward with apologies again, not empty ones this time, but shaking, honest apologies, filled with regret and fear of losing him forever. And he listened. He did not forgive yet, but he listened, because deep inside, he still cared, even though they hurt him more than anyone ever had. And emotions ran high as they promised transparency moving forward, promising never to hide truth from him again, promising to stand by him through the chaos forming outside. And yet everyone knew promises now meant little, they would only matter if actions followed. And Candace revealed that reaching the powerful figure was not going to be easy, because their world was layered with people who filtered information, controlled communication, and protected reputations fiercely. And once they learned the truth was out, they would either fight desperately to deny it, or be forced to face what they had ignored for so long. And Charlie lifted his chin slightly, determination replacing helplessness, because after losing everything, there was nothing left to fear. And he said quietly that he was ready, no matter how ugly, no matter how complicated. He wanted the truth straight from the source. And fans are shocked, because the story has shifted from emotional collapse to emotional confrontation, and it feels like the next chapter will be explosive and even darker. And as the world watches, the family clings to the last threads tying them together, trying to rebuild trust while preparing for a battle they never wanted to face. And Charlie stands on the edge of a future he never imagined, carrying pain, betrayal, new strength, and a burning need for answers inside his chest. And yet even now, with so much already exposed, Candace hinted that one more critical detail still remained hidden, a detail that could completely change how Charlie sees this powerful figure forever. And the storm that has already torn through his life is about to grow even stronger, because the truth is not finished speaking, not yet. And the next step toward this shocking DNA connection will push everyone further than they ever thought they could endure. And the world is not ready for what comes next, but it is coming anyway. The moment finally arrived, like a thunderclap everyone had been waiting for and dreading at the same time. And fans are shocked, because after endless silence and unbearable tension, the powerful figure connected to Charlie through DNA finally responded. And it was not with cold denial, and it was not with scripted distance. Instead, it came with a voice full of weight, regret, and the kind of fear only truth can create. And when the message reached Charlie, the room went still, as if the world itself paused to listen. And he stood there staring at the words, hands trembling, breathing uneven, and emotions ran high as everyone leaned closer, not to invade, but because this answer meant everything. And the message admitted there was truth, yes, truth that had been buried, truth that had been managed, truth that had been controlled out of fear of scandal, out of fear of responsibility, out of fear of losing everything. And the admission alone felt like a roar inside Charlie's chest, and tears filled his eyes again. But this time the tears carried anger and grief, and a fragile sense of validation, because for the first time, someone was not pretending, someone was not hiding, someone powerful finally said, "You exist, and I failed you." And the family was left divided once more, some stunned into silence, some crying openly, because the wall they depended on for years finally cracked from the inside, not from Candace, not from media, but from the very person they spent their lives protecting. And suddenly the excuses sounded smaller than ever, and Charlie whispered that all he ever wanted was honesty, all he ever wanted was to matter enough to be acknowledged without shame, without fear, without being treated like a secret mistake. And that truth hit everyone like a cold wind, because it was simple, devastating human truth. And Candace's eyes softened with something like sorrow and strength mixed together. Because this was the moment she knew would come, the moment when the truth no longer belonged to drama or scandal, it belonged to a broken heart trying to heal. The powerful figure requested a private meeting, and the suggestion alone sent the room back into emotional chaos. Some insisted it was dangerous. Some said it was necessary, some feared the world's reaction, others feared the emotional damage if this never happened, and Charlie looked torn between hope and hesitation because the possibility of finally hearing explanations face to face felt like carrying burning glass in his hands, painful but impossible to drop. And fans are shocked watching this story reach a place no one expected, because now it is not just anger anymore. It is possibility, it is confrontation, it is healing trying to fight through pain. Candace stood with him, promising that whatever choice he made, it would be his choice, not forced, not controlled, not silenced, and that gave him the strength to breathe deeply and say he wanted to meet, not tomorrow, not one day, but soon, because he had lived too many years in confusion, and he would not waste one more moment trapped in unanswered questions. And emotions ran high again as his family realized this was the consequence of every lie.